Hey everybody, this is Udo. I've got a little bit of a update to the world of the game for everybody. I know that I've been talking about a lot of changes, but these changes won't happen or take full effect for about a year, unless everybody's like instantly on board. Um, but I mean, these will happen in a year, unless everybody wants it to happen sooner. Anyway, uh, I've got some changes to try and hit a new site cap of 200 people, right? So the game would eventually cap out there, and I don't think we could really support any more people. But I heard a lot of people ask for more people, and that means we need more space. The problem is with the way that we've got everybody set up now, we're running out of places to put people. A lot of wasted space, just because it's not. Some camps are huge and don't have to and utilize less space per person. Some places are cramped, and yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna show you guys an idea I've got here. Let's take a look at an aerial view of the world today. All right, so we've got the world map here. As you can see, we've got where you enter. You've got your Ops and Z camp. You've got Convoy and Sanctuary real close to each other. You've got the ACR in the center of the world because it's the only place I could find to put anything right now. Dead End, which is actually really, really, really big if we spend some time cleaning up. Fuck Camp, which is also rather large. The Citadel, which is smaller than both of them, but has a lot of available area around it that hasn't been utilized. The Iron Legion, which is real cramped and in a like a shitty, almost 45-degree angle area. DGen, which is right next to the road, which is something we want to try to avoid. And I know this says Lizard Trail, but I should have said Lizard Tail. I made this real late at night and wasn't thinking. So anyway, sorry about that. So this is the way that the world currently works. We've got a couple of changes in mind for the entirety of this world, and that is to change it like this. So instead of having a bajillion individual camps that each camp has got to create a gate and follow specific rules, and I also have to go around all year and keep these places clean. There's been a couple of times, actually, that in Degen and Haven, I've had to clean out animal carcasses, and it's not you guys doing anything. Like, something kills an animal and leaves it in your camp, and I've got to, like, wander over there and remove that, because when you guys come later, you're not going to want dead animal stink everywhere, right? So, and then, like, water comes and destroys things, snow comes and destroys things, and it provides a lot of places that I've got to run around to and try and keep up with stuff. So, what we're talking about doing is building 3 towns. And the towns will be generally aligned at the beginning when they're created, but they won't have to stay that way. It'll stay just exactly the way that we've been working towards, where you guys can have your own destiny and figure out what you need to do. But the storyline will give them an alignment to start with, just so that the groups will kind of shuffle themselves into the right areas. So we went in and we measured Sanctuary today, and it's 45 feet by 150 feet. And then we went down to Dead End and measured the same area out and found we could easily build a walled structure that size. And then we went down to Fuck Camp and found out that we could build a structure the same area, but not the same size. Not the same dimensions, right? So, assuming you've got these 3 new towns, right? We would take the area that ACR is in now and build a ops there, so that all three of the towns would be just about the same distance from ops, and there wouldn't be a huge disadvantage to being on south side of the property to everybody else. So let's take a little bit more of an individual look at what I mean by the changes that we're working on. So yes, everyone would lose their camp, but you would gain a rather large area inside of a town. And that includes access to a generator for each town. There would be access to more centralized toilet features. And there would be access to, and this also increases our site camp to 200, so I can do things like buy more permanent toilets and make them like, put them on like cement bases and have it so that we don't have stuff so bad. And we're also talking about possibly putting in shower facilities for each one of the things, but I gotta look into the legality issues behind that. So let's go look at Sanctuary, right? So this is a rough outline of what Sanctuary's current walls look like. Up here in the corner is where the stage is, and that can that's what causes this to look like that. The door, you've got your 3 different ways to get into Sanctuary, and then this front wall is got a little bit of a wonk in it because that's where my trailer is, right? So key step 1 to Sanctuary is to fix it. So we're going to add a little bit more square area to it. We're going to remove my trailer from the town. We're going to remove some of the structures and then rebuild them. All while adding a lot of cabins, right? So we learned there's some legal stuff that we can do, building some places that people can stay in overnight, as long as you don't become residents there. You can overnight in cabins that we can build really inexpensively out of the near infinite amount of wood that we've been given access to. We'd also remove all of the permanent parts of all the other permanent entrances and create one unified defense point. And we're talking about adding back in the zombie walls that we had at the forts before, but they won't be attached to the walls. They'll be right next to or not attached to the wall. No, they'll be attached to the gates. They'll be right next to the gate, and when they break down, it represents the gate being broke down, so that we don't actually have to make the moving parts weaker. Anyway, for those of you who didn't get to experience the zombie walls, they are Velcro walls, walls with Velcro strips on them that you can put wooden planks up on, that also have Velcro on them, so that it creates a barrier that people can't pass through, but the zombies can tear it down. And we were talking about expanding that system with making different colored panels that you can put up there that do different things to the zombies when they tear them down, like the barbed wire panel and the electrified panel and things like that, so that you can work on the defenses of the town by interacting with the zombie wall. So the way that the town would get split is something like this, right? So, and all the other towns would have something very similar to this. As you can see, there's 4 zones created here and a general throughway through the middle of the town. The town in Dead End, the one that the project is calling Freewood, would have this exact same setup, only just turned. And then the town built in Fuck Camp would be, since it's square, the 4 corners of the town would be the places that people are able to claim as zones, right? So what these zones are for is major groups who move into these towns would be able to claim a zone and build whatever they want, and to have preferential options to those cabins that are built in their zone. So if there's like 4 cabins built in zone 1, whoever is in zone 1 gets option to rent those cabins first, just so that your cabin rentals are with the rest of your group. And when I say rental, I mean like there's going to be maybe a $10 extra thing on the ticket, or I mean, I'll figure out the math. It won't be too expensive, but basically you can save money on not renting or not having a tent, and the associated garbage that comes with that. So this also brings everybody close together so that we can pass around electricity for things like CPAPs, and lighting is easier and that type of stuff. The benefits of doing this is that we're going to get what we're nicknaming the settlement system. So every event, the towns will receive 500 caps. And how you deal with that is up to you as a town. So just for an example, in 2019 on the first event, if it goes a year from now, the town, I can't remember what I called it, Blood something. The town in Fuck Camp was built over that time by a vastly wealthy raider king who moved in, and he died last night. So his fortune totaled 500 caps after he had spent it wildly during his last days. And when the event starts, you guys figure out how to deal with it. It could be that the strongest just takes it. It could be that someone steals it. It could be whatever. You just have to deal with it the way that works. However your town is set up to deal with it. What you do with that money is that you can buy special buildings. So there will be various stations throughout the towns that are not controlled by a faction, but they are accessible to everybody. Now, these stations can be changed into different buildings with caps, right? So, for example, we've got the Bullet Farm gas station and medical bay, right? So, the Bullet Farm would allow you to collect zombie tokens, which are things that zombies will drop when this system comes into play. And you can take those zombie tokens, and in the roleplay, you use the corpses to farm nitrates, and you when you create bullets using the crafting system, because your town has a bullet farm, you create more bullets. The gas station will allow you to turn zombie corpses into biofuel and use that for fuel and generation, power generation, things like that. The medical bay is essentially Ernie's, right, for each one of the town, allowing you to have access to those medical bays by buying a building that does that. The towns can raise money and change the buildings as they see fit, but the 500 caps at the beginning, it won't cost your 500 caps to build these 3 buildings, but depending on which ones are expensive, they can use up a lot of it. And then the town can use the rest of the 500 caps however they please. You could pay your leader. You could pay guards. You could build an armory. You could start a trader thing, right? Like just start money to get to jumpstart your economy. However you want to do it. There will be 10 building types. I've got prototype ideas for each one of them. I don't want to spoil them too soon. But every one of the towns will have 3 of these stations, so not everything can exist in the wasteland at once, leading people to think about what they want to build. And then the final bonus is that we get better access to ops for everybody. Not so, or I guess that's not the final one, but you get access to ops for everybody more availably because you'll be able to get to wherever you want to get, instead of having to travel all the way from the south end to the north end if you're at the Legion or Citadel, or more safely everybody on the east side or the west side, or Worsley, if you're Citadel and you have to travel from west side and possibly through contested areas, everybody will be able to get to ops to do the things that they need to do to keep everything going. And we will get more questing zones, right? We're going to be able to send people out into places throughout the wastes without having to, completely tailor everything. Because if we were to tell Degen to go hold the Dark Ride, it's super easy. Their number one like contending faction there is just, you've got some zombies that you'll have to deal with every once in a while. But you don't have a chance of being raided or sacrificed to the cult as often as if we told Citadel to go to the area between the raiders and camp, right? Like, go to that little crossroad and stay there for 15 minutes. That quest is a suicide mission. But if we were to have these other questing zones out in the world and all three of the towns right next to each other, we could say, go to the Yggdrasil tree in what was formerly Degen, and we want you to capture a slaver there and release his slaves. That's what we tell the good town, right? The lawfully aligned town. We tell the chaos aligned town that there is going to be a slaver moving through there and he's looking for protection. Or we tell them that there's a slaver there and he's looking to capture some new slaves, right? Or we tell the neutral town that there's a merchant coming through. He's hiring bodyguards. At that point, the role-playing aspects there, it's not really unfair for any of the teams. There's data missing from all of it for everybody, and everybody has to make decisions and have fun, and not necessarily travel through other people's territories in order to do something that could be considered like a simple newbie quest. They can actually, and it won't ruin the fun for everybody when everybody shows up there. It'll be really entertaining for all of the groups. So if you have any questions or feedback, feel free to leave a comment below here at YouTube. Feel free to leave a comment on the Facebook page, or just message me directly. Thanks, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.